Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we got this cool project here on the bench. It's a 1971 Honda SL70. A lot of you may not know this ever existed. You've probably heard of the SL100 and 125s, 250, 350s, but this is the 70. It's very cool, mostly original. And it's a buddy's bike, and the story kind of goes that it's been in his family for a long time. Since he was a kid, really. So, yeah, 71. And, you know, his dad had it, and eventually he got it, and yeah, he used to rip it around all over the place. And then it got stored for a long time, and then every now and again he'd pull it out and run it and ride it, and said it, I think it was 2 years ago he said that it was running, but it ran really poor. And he just kind of parked it again and just didn't touch it. So hit me up to see if I would take on the project, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. That's a cool bike. So here we are. So things we're going to end up doing to this are top end. So we got a big bore 88cc top end, and I'll redo the head, valve seals, and whatnot. The intake boot is completely destroyed. So I've got a new one of these, and we got a box of parts here, yeah, tubes and brakes, chain, you know, maintenance item stuff. I also got a sealed battery that's going to go into here and get rid of the original acid lead battery that leaks everywhere. And then also forks. We're going to rebuild the forks. So let's go ahead and dig through the boxes of parts. I'll show you what I got. Alright, I got our parts boxes kind of set up here, so let's just we'll go through this one first. See what we got in here. Nothing else in there. Get that out of the way. Alright, so we got some cables. So, it's a brake cable. Brake shoes. Gas cap seal. That's OEM Honda, actually. I thought it was going to be aftermarket, but it's not. But that's cool. Basically a whole cable set. So we got throttle, we got brake, we got clutch. Replace all that because they're pretty crispy. So we're not trusting on those things. So yeah. See, fresh intake boot. That is aftermarket. Also seals. I will have links in the description for all this stuff as well. Yeah, the company I got this stuff from, I can't remember, is ReMX? Yeah, ReMX. So I got a lot of stuff from them. They have all kinds of vintage stuff and great selection and good pricing. So I ordered from them. Pretty fast shipping. So we got some rim bands, because I know inside these wheels is not going to be pretty. Lever set. Yeah, these one's missing and the other one's savable, but I'd rather just put freshies on it. And then that's just some fuel line in here. We got that stuff. That's a chunk. I also have fork oil somewhere in here. So second box. Cylinder kit. Take a look at that. If you saw in the prior video I did for my ATC70, I used a Chinese top end on it, which is what this is. And it's not bad, and that thing's actually, as it's breaking in, it's starting to run a lot better. I'm going to do some carb tweaks on it. But essentially the same thing. This is a big bore, so yeah. Looks pretty good. It's going to be nice on there. Alright, that out of the way. What else do we got in here? I don't even know what this is. Oh, that's the piston. Okay. Separate from that. Tube. Oh, yes, other thing. Air filter cage. There isn't one in there. So there's not even an air filter in there, if I remember right. So we got a cage, and somewhere there's a filter. So that's going to be good, because we are going to run stock Airbox, even with a big bore. I didn't want to eliminate that and turn the intake around and have a big filter sticking out of it. There's our gasket set. China something, 50 caliber. Yeah. And then this is a good find. Hopefully it's gonna be the proper fit. But moto battery, sealed 6-volt battery. I have one of these in my Scrambler 100 and Joey's CB 125, and got tired of just those freaking unsealed batteries. Just they're messy and you smell battery acid all the time. So hopefully this is gonna fit. This is supposed to be the match to what was in it. The battery that's in it isn't the right battery anyway, so I'm hoping. This looks a little big, but hey man, we're working on vintage stuff here. Not everything's gonna be perfect. This box, what do we got in here? So we got tubes, China chain. Well, it's JT, so that's Japanese. These are the old points. Air filter, there, yeah. That guy. Oh, this was the carb. So, carb rebuild kit, old school carb rebuild kit, which is desperately needed. From these, you can find these on Amazon and I think even eBay, but they're tune-up kits, so they come with a spark plug, a point set, which we'll check and see if it's a match, and a new condenser. Yeah, so it's a nice little complete kit. They're really cheap. But I've talked about this before, where on these points, sometimes this arm right here isn't made very well and they'll crack right there. This one looks pretty stout. I'm not too worried about it. I think it's going to be good. It actually looks almost identical. It has a little bit more of an adjustment room than the factory ones, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, should work good. And we got one more little box in here. What? I don't know. Replacement fuel valve, because this is shot. So, I would say that's a match. That's a match. Should work good. So, anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. And there's one more issue. Other than this bushing missing, that I can take care of. There's an electrical issue on this bike where even when it runs, like, the lights don't work at all, he says. The no tail, brake, headlight, high, low. Just nothing works. So we're going to look into the harness and see if we can figure out what might be going on there. Alright, so I decided that we're going to go ahead and we're going to start from the inside out. So we're going to do top end first and kind of move the fuel system, intake, and then go from there. So first thing we got to do is get the fender off and the exhaust off, and we can kind of start getting into it. And even though this bike is actually in pretty good shape overall, I'm going to lube a lot of the fasteners just to avoid stripping anything out in case there's too much rust. I don't see a lot, but better safe than sorry. So we're going to shoot some juice on everything. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have to roll the headlight because it's in the way of that one. Let's see if these come loose. Ooh, yeah. Oh, look how soft those are. That works. Alright, now that the fender's off of here, get the exhaust. We're going to do the same thing. I'm try and lube up whatever I can. There's not much holds it on. It's this bolt and two nuts up here on the head, and that's it. It's like the simplest mounting ever. So let that soak for a sec. That came right out. Probably didn't even need to lube them. Let's see how these go. Simple. I like it. Come on, washer. Nuts come right off, and washers should just stay on there. Get out of there. Alright. Those over there. And pull this out. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And there it is. Alright. Well, that stage is out of the way. We can get to more exciting stuff. Now we need to get this thing rolled over to top dead center. Best way to do that, pull this cover. Pretty much all of the old Hondas had this access cover, minus like the XR line. You had to pull the whole cover off, the ignition cover. So these you want to be careful with. As they age, those screws don't come out. I already took care of that on this one off camera because it was a struggle getting that out of there without destroying the original cover, which I don't think there's reproductions of. So get that out of the way and boom, there's the flywheel, which is also where you set your point gap. It's on this side. Non-CDI, old school stuff. And voila, just like that. So what we're looking for, I'll bring you in, is on the cam. See if you can see this. There's going to be a dot. There it is right there. Might not be able to see it, but there's a dot on one side. That needs to be at this notch in the top of the head. You can be on T here, and that dot will be 180 off on the bottom side, which means you're not on compression stroke. So being that we are basically where it needs to be, which actually, it's funny, I want to say timing is off. So T here, we're off a tooth. That should be here. It's down here. So that's part of his running issue, is at some point, maybe you got a cam chain, or I don't know why that would have ever been torn off, but this thing is rather jump timing or somebody set it wrong. One of the two, but we're going to fix all that. Doesn't really matter. Definitely somebody's been in here. This bolt's missing. Right here. That holds the head and the cylinder together. Yeah, there's no bolt there. There's supposed to be one. The other thing on these, timing chain tensioner is actually in the bottom, down here. It's a big spring-loaded deal with a bolt. And what we're going to do first is loosen these three nuts or bolts up, which I think are 9mm, and then we'll pull that, and then we can pull the head, and this thing should be off in no time actually. So let's do it. I think it's 17. No, I'm wrong. 14. Probably going to lose some oil, which is fine. There it is. Fresh gasket spring, ends a plunger. That out, this and that. There we go. Maybe. There we go. Intake is off. Now let's see if this will come off. Oh, it's close. Let's see. There we go. So to lift the suspension out. Not as bad as I was expecting. It's looking pretty good. Somebody definitely put a head gasket on this at some point. This is newer, and we got some carbon buildup, but it's not horrible. All right, so let's go ahead and this bolt right here. It's actually a roller in here. It's like a guide for the chain. I'll get that out of there, and then pull this other bolt, and we should be able to get this apart. See how hammered it really is. Right there. All right, here we go. Didn't move. Still no movement. Okay, head has been off and pull the cylinder. So even though I'm not that worried about the cylinder because it's getting replaced, it is stock, which means I prefer to not damage it. So we use a block of wood and a hammer because it usually works. There it is. Oh yeah, she is blowing by. There we go. Get out of there. Alright, so yeah, you can see it better now. And it's been blown by all the way past all the rings. Worn out. Worn out. Alright, we got all our parts laid out here. We got our new cylinder, all the old, you know, the rockers and all that stuff. Went through the head, I went off camera and lapped the valves and put a new valve seal in it. And that's ready to go. Mine's putting the cam back in, so we'll do that. Yeah, everything's ready to go. I slapped the piston in there. So that's fresh, ready, and let's start putting this thing together. Alright, we're going to get the cylinder on now, but I realized the frame design on this is super cool, but it's not video friendly because it's in the way. So this is the view you get, and so just make sure my rings are still lined up where they're supposed to be. There we go. And I'm going to put some oil. Actually, first, do a quick clean on this and make sure there's no deposits or anything on it. Yeah, see that right there? That's why you wipe out new cylinders. All kinds of crud still in there from the machining. And you don't want your new piston rubbing all over that. There it is. Clean. Okay. Alright, so we got our base gasket, and then there's going to be the dowel pins, which are here, and then an O-ring goes there. Our little O-ring kit, let's see what's in there. So we got two of these, so it should be this one. Yeah. Okay, throw some oil on here. There we go. Let's see here. She is a tight fit. It's like, it should drop right in, but I think we got an edge it's catching on. Let's see. Okay, it's most of the way down. It is not going to move. So let's just do a rotation check here. Okay, everything moves good. Only one option for a gasket. Just do this. Get that to there. 2 dowel pins. Get these seated in there. There we go. Okay. So then we get one O-ring goes here, and I believe there's this green one, little guy, and it goes right there. It's an oil galley in this one, so it seals because that's where the oil comes up to lubricate the head assembly. So you don't want to forget that because you'll just get oil just blowing out of there. Okay, so we got everything. Oh, we got to put our roller in. This guy, which those can be fun to get back in, but I think we got it. Now we can do the head, but I'm going to grab a magnet to hold the chain. Like that. So we're going to probably have to reverse order. Let's see. Lift. There we go. Okay, let's seat it on the dowel pins. Look at there. Grab the gasquito. It's universal, it looks like. So might as well start with this guy. And get this one in there. Slip these guys up. And I'll find some torque specs and do this right, but for the sake of the video, we're just running them down. Alright, let's get this cam in here, the cam sprocket in here, and go back to the T, and the fun part begins getting this in there. Yay! Alright, so we're on T, we're directly on our mark. Now when the tensioner gets put in, it's going to roll this a little bit, but it shouldn't roll much. Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. But cam also needs to go to the proper spot. Try and spin that a little bit. Let's get a bolt in there. Maybe, if not. Go. Now I'll line things up. and get our tensioner. Alright, so tensioner's in, so now set that there, tighten the cam bolts. Alright. Now let's snug up all the other hardware that I haven't tightened yet. So we'll get these. That one's just not fun to get to. I think the factory one actually has a number 3 Phillips slot in the top, plus it's a 10 mil head. I didn't have one of those, but I had a factory Honda bolt, so at least I was able to do that. And we'll find our way in there to tighten that. Gonna be tricky. Alright, this. I'll blitz through here and just slap the rest of this crap together. Remember how I had mentioned that I thought these were supposed to have a Phillips in them? Well, I was right. This one and that one, they were actually installed in the intake. I caught that after I'd already put all this on. So I took those bolts, put them where they're supposed to go, over here and here, and replaced these. One with the one that I had, and then found another one. So now our intake's on. So I'm going to throw the exhaust on this thing, and then we're going to move on to ignition and fuel, not in that order. Alright, I decided at the very least we need to pop the carburetor open. Then we'll take a look at the ignition and whatnot. But this may need to soak for a little while, and so let's crack into it and see how bad this thing is. And on top of that, we're going to have to rejet it. I don't know if I have jets that are going to work, but we'll find out. There we go. Oh yeah. I've seen worse, but let's see if we can see in there. Kind of dark. Lighting in here is not awesome, but it's about as brown as the floats are brass. So we'll give that a good soak. And remember, we got that carb kit, so all these parts will get replaced. But we're gonna make sure it's the right kit. So I'm gonna grab that and we'll compare it. See what we got. All right, so our bowl gasket is a match. Needle and seat. Is it just a needle? Oh, needle right there. Okay. And this is a strange one. It doesn't have the standard float needle. It's actually in the bowl right here. So this is your seat assembly, your fuel in, and your needle. So it's a little different than the standard carb that you would see on an XR or even an XL, or even the bigger SLs. They ran more of a traditional float setup. So yeah, it's a little goofy. I don't know. Is it Mikuni? Oh, it's a Kian. Yeah. I think they were running Mikunis, I think. No, they were Kian also. Just a different model. So, okay, so we're going to get that soaking in the solvent tank. Not as bad as I expected. That gasket's shot. Well, I got the carburetor pulled out of the solvent tank here, and, well, it didn't do much, but that's okay. I was going to run some other cleaner through it, but I forgot that I ran out. Little tip for you on carbs that have corrosion built up in them. the best product I've found thus far that works on most corrosion, whether it be that brown gummy stuff, green, white corrosion. Amsoil Power Foam. That stuff works great. Spray it in, let it soak, and then rinse it out. And almost no scrubbing most of the time. You may have to do 2 or 3 applications, but it works awesome. And I'm out, unfortunately. So we're just gonna run this. It's pretty clean. There's just some leftover residue, but we're not gonna worry too much about that. I just want to get this thing together. So let's pull the jets out. Looks like a 7 mil. Yes, it is. Let's see if I can get that apart. Ooh, that's really in there. There it goes. Sometimes I don't know. Okay, so let's get the emulsion tube out and see. Oh wow, that's actually really clean. Yeah, not bad. It's clear too, so that's a win. Let's get that pilot out. I know it's plugged, and I'm like 99.9 plus 0.1% sure this is plugged. Yeah, look at that little guy. I don't have one of these, that's for sure. Oh yeah, you can't see through that. All right, well, what number is on this main jet? I'm gonna need to, let's see, 68. Oh man, that is hard to read. I think it says 58. I doubt it's supposed to be a 158, but maybe. I mean, that seems pretty big, but I can't tell because that hole is totally plugged up. I might have a main, but I don't have a pilot. So let me go grab my little jet box and we'll see if maybe I've got something in there. Well, the jet box failed. This is only one of them. I have more at home, but like I said, I don't think I have anything. I mean, there's that one. I mean, that looks about right. It's longer. Let's see, that's a 40. Let's open up the kit here. Maybe I can read the numbers on these. Let's see here. Just pour all that out. Get out of there. Okay. Here's the pilot. Let's see if I can read this one. 40. So 40 is stock. I have a 40 here. So that's not going to do us any good. And the original one shot. So, I mean, worst case for now, I'll just put these in. I know it won't run awesome. And I'll double check. Let's see. Let's check that main and see. Is it 58 or 150? It's 58. That thing is tiny. This thing's going to run like shit. The kit also did not come with a new float needle, which threads into the side of it, but that's okay. This one's still good. A little dirty, but it's not horrible. And it also didn't come with new gaskets for that. But, you know, we're working on a 71 Honda. I'm not expecting perfection or, you know, being too surprised by things like this. So, pop that back on. Okay. All right, I jumped ahead a little bit. We got the carburetor on there. Thing functional. Still have cables to swap, but for now, it functions. I want to try and get this thing to start. So we're going to get to the airbox and then fuel valve and see if I can find some gas. I may have to steal some out of one of my other bikes. All right, let's pull this thing apart. We got a Phillips. I can just do a 10. Yeah, it's already loose. I didn't even need that. Oh, yeah. That's crusty. So it has the pin that goes down the center. The cage is missing. So get that and the seals off. Maybe. Yeah. So you can see though, yeah, the original boot here is done. Thankfully, MX has new ones that are like almost identical. I mean, you can tell the molds are rough, but who cares? Something better than nothing. Ooh, that's stiff. All right, I'm gonna rinse that out real quick. All right, I got that rinsed out, so it's all much cleaner than it was. And should probably clean the rest of this before we jump into that part. So yeah, now that we got that all taken care of, everything's all gleaming clean. Slap it back together and put this new filter in there and put it on the bike. Well, okay, got the seals in, got one cap on, and now we just need to put our little bushing guy through our fresh air filter, which I'll oil later. I'm not going to worry about it right now. And I believe, let's see where that's going to be. Well, actually, before we put this in, it's prepped now. Let's put our new boot in. See how good of a fit it actually is. It's going to be tight. That's good though. No air coming through. Hey, look at that. There we go. Just hopefully I put it in the right way. I think I did. Alright. So now I'll drop our filter in. There we go. Another cap. And let's put the bolt through. See, and this is going to mount that direction, so I want this to go through here. Don't think it really matters, but there we go. And then clamp. Yay, we got an airbox. Alright, let's get that in. Alright, now I think you can see what the hell I'm doing. Well, that might be loose enough, we'll find out. Go on the other side and make sure it's lining up. There we go. Alright, it's all factory, look at that. So, I'm going to have to find a bolt. That one was missing, but it's trying to push itself off of there. Alright, let's try and tighten this up. It's not a perfect fit, but we'll rework that later. So you can see there is still room for it to come up. Well, let's just do it now or I'll never do it. We'll do it off camera, but might as well just do it. Okay, it's nice and loose. Let's move it out of the way. I think it's more just the rubber. I think it ends before it actually gets to go on all the way, like where the taper's at. It's already hitting the carb, so it's not letting it quite go all the way. It's my theory. I think I'm right. Pretty sure I'm right. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a bolt for that. Stand by. Alright, I found the bolt. I got one in there. Put the lower nut back on. You can see. I think you can see. Yeah, you're kind of far away. Let's try this. This was sitting way back here. It did not want to come forward. So you had to press the airbox into the carb just to get it to seat. But it did. So we'll tighten that up. And that part will be done. Sweet. There we go. Next. What's next? Carb. Tight. Do have a chain to do. I need to put oil in it. Fuel valve. Let's do the fuel valve. Fuel valve. So on these fuel valves, if I remember right, so there's no bolts on the outside. You got to take the sediment trap off, basically your filter, and there should be this thing's crusty. A number 3 Phillips screw underneath. Oh yeah, look at that. Some credage in there. Then there is a seal and a screen. Now that seal is no longer rubber. Oh, just poked right through the screen. Oh, come out one piece. There we go. One of these guys. And there it is, number 3 Phillips. So let's see how tight that is. Nope, came right out. I'm just getting lucky on this thing. Nothing's rotting completely anyway. But I'd say that valve's pretty well done for. Let's grab the new one. That's what it should look like. Much, much better. So, pull this one apart. That just came right out. And we got a plastic style screen. A lot less flow area. That's expected. There we go. Okay. Snug. Okay. Drop this guy on here. Make sure the cables are up above the mount. There we go. Alright, so we're back in there. There we go. So now I just got to run a fuel line, oil. We can kick it over and see what happens. Alright, first starting attempt. Duct tape the battery down because I don't want it falling out. And I put some fuel in, the new seal, and oil. So we should have everything. Throttle's still working. Let's see if this thing will fire up. So key on. Over a little bit. Could be tricky. Let's see. Choke. Ooh. Alive. Nope. Doesn't like no choke. Little choke. All choke. let it run for a minute and burn off some of this crap, may take it outside. It sounds pretty good. Chokes off, keep the idle up. Test the charging system real quick while it's running. Yeah, we're getting 6 volts, so steady. That's acceptable. Okay. It runs. There we go. Alright, yeah, we got this thing back together. Finished up the forks, and yeah, I got the chain on, all the cables, controls, everything's good to go. And replaced the bushing in this shock. The shocks that I bought, I'll actually show them to you. They are a little long, you could say. You guys can, yeah, see this. So, you know, this direction. See how much more length there is there? Yeah, those were not going to work. The swing arm doesn't even allow it to drop that far. So, all I did was take a bushing out of here, which I destroyed one, China rubber, so go figure. I stole that one, put it in there. So now that's back to functional, and rejetted the carburetor. That was a big thing. I went ahead and just went back to a stock main jet. Wanted to see kind of just how it would do. It actually does way better. So I'm just going to leave that in there. Do a needle adjustment and it'll be fine. But I thought chasing a wiring problem, and it turned out, no, there's no wiring issue. I couldn't get the headlight or the taillight to come on at all. And I was like, man, everything's checking out, the ignition switch, everything. And then it dawned on me, this bike has to be running for the headlight and taillight to work. The brake light will work if the key is on, but the headlight and taillight and any other light you have does not work unless it's in the second position of the key and it's running. So turns out everything's fine. Everything works, and I didn't get the proper battery yet. I've been trying to find one of these, what is it called, motor bat. You know, Amazon special. But this is a 4 amp hour. I need a 2 amp hour. It's about half the size of this thing, and I don't want to modify the Airbox, so I'm just gonna get an lead acid battery for it, and just get it back to stock. I just wanted to try and get away from something that could leak all over it and create more problems like I talked about before, and not having a lot of luck with that. So we'll just order up the proper one, but for at least testing, this does work, so we can use that. Yeah, so like I said, forks done, tubes in the tires, brakes done. Final tuning really is all that's left. So my buddy's going to be super stoked on this thing. Being I don't have the proper battery and really no good way right now to strap this down, I'm not going to go test ride it, but I will fire it up and you can hear it again. But he's going to be super excited for this. I can't wait to get this thing back to him. So let's fire it up and hear it one last time. Vintage bikes are cool. And then check it out. You got lighting. Hard to see against the wall there, but that's the headlight. I gotta aim it down. It's a little high. Tail light. Brake light. Old school still works. I thought the headlight was burned out. Nope, high-low beam works. Yep, pretty rad. But yeah, this thing's badass. I don't want to give it back to him. I kind of want to give him something else and keep this thing because this is a badass bike. And but no, I gotta behave. Gets his bike back. So I'll do a little detail on it, and yeah, I'll get that battery in it, and this thing's ready to go. So thanks for checking it out, following along. Got another video in process right now, and yeah, it's actually sitting there. And get this off, and that one's coming back up, and got a birthday coming up that's a present for, and it's also vintage, so look forward to that. And it's 2-stroke and small. So alright guys, till next time, I'll see you then.